All right, hey guys, it's Stereo Police. I got a little. It's still in the middle of the work day, but I have a few minutes to get started on the on fight night. I'm hoping to post a video this evening, so I have a few minutes. I'll get started, but I want to cover a couple of changes real quick. Had to make a couple of changes. First of all, I had to change the equation for calculating weight. The new equation is weight equals 112 plus 0.02 times price. The reason is the Klipschorn walls are my heavyweight champs. Those are my reference standard right now. And heavyweight in boxing, correct me if I'm wrong, please do, but I believe, man, I should have looked this up, but I believe it's 200 pounds. 200 pounds. I can't write, LBS, 200 pounds. So I had to force, this is 4,400 a pair, okay? I had to force 4,400 a pair to equal 200 pounds. So I had to change this equation to force the corn walls to equal 200 pounds. And then everything else had to fall into place. So that's the new equation for weight. Therefore, the Klipschorns now weigh 412 pounds, and the realistic Minimus 5s weigh 121 pounds. And you can see I have 3 fights on the card tonight, just in case there's a knockout. I've got some backup fights if I have the time. So that's the new calculation for weight. So here's the card tonight if it works out well. And there may be a problem with the realistic Minimus. He's kind of sick right now. He might not come out when called, so we'll see. We have Butterbean Klipschorn ready to come out tonight. We have realistic Rocky Marcy Minimus 5, who's might not be able to make the call tonight. But we definitely have the fearless Fostex rear-loaded horns ready to make the call tonight, and we have Sweet JBL 4655 coming in at a weight of 232 pounds. For that one, I wasn't able to find the exact price of those old JBLs, so I went and found a current equivalent model of a JBL professional speaker with a 15-inch woofer and a horn-loaded driver, and they were like $6,000 a pair. Those professional speakers were expensive. So at $6,000 a pair for equivalent size, the whole thing. So at $6,000 a pair, that brings you in at about 232 pounds in terms of our weight calculation. But even still, that's a mismatch for the the 400 pound Butterbean Klipschorn. But still. So let me go see what I can, let me see who's going to make the call tonight for our first couple of fights, a fight or two, depending on the amount of time I have. But that's the changes. We're changing the way weight is calculated to be sure that the Cornwall 3s are 200 pounds, the threshold of heavyweight. Okay, so sorry about that. I screwed up the calculation before. I didn't quite do it right. So, all right. Let me go get the ring set up for, and I think I'm having some trouble with the Minimus right now, getting some spade lugs that fit the back of that thing, and it's becoming a pain in the ass. So I think our first bout tonight will be Butterbean Klipschorn versus Fearless Fostex rear-loaded horns. Still quite a mismatch in weight at 412 pounds versus 128 pounds. Let's get that set up and see how that's going to work out. Okay, here we go with our first fight. It's going to be Butterbean Klipschorn at 412 pounds, hailing from Hope, Arkansas, a spring chicken, no titles yet, versus Fearless Fostex rear-loaded horns at 128 pounds from Wisconsin. Is there a, by the way, here's the Butterbean Klipschorn. You can see he's rather rotund. Is it fat or is it muscle? That's TBD. but he is named Butterbean for a reason. Here are the Fostex rear-loaded horns from Sound. They were purchased in kit form. I believe the kit was $399. They use a single 4-inch full-range driver from Fostex, and it's a rear-loaded horn. A rear-loaded horn. There we go. I'm not using. I have bi-wired cables, but I'm not using them as bi-wired, so that's why you see a funky spider there. I have the Klipsch. I'm using as a signal source the TIAC NT503 all digital, feeding it into the Yamaha AS1100, and I have the Klipsch hooked into speakers outputs A and the Fostex in speakers B, and the Fostex get the benefit of a well-integrated Klipsch subwoofer, which I've been working on. I've been integrating this subwoofer with the Fostex for the last 20 minutes, and I finally got it perfectly. I have not had any problems integrating that sub with speakers in this room. Once you get it, once you get the crossover frequency tuned in, the phase, and the level, it's seamless. It sounds really, really good. So I've had to toe in. You can see that the Fostex horns are towed in, so they are almost facing me. I had to do that in order to achieve the tonal balance of the high frequencies I needed to hear. These are full range drivers, so they're a little soft on the highs. But once, I wanted to give these speakers the absolute best benefit. So there you have it. We are ready to go. I'm ready for round one. And again, all these songs, I could have struggled over a variety of music. I have, for example, today I was listening to French horn, and I was listening to some cello music, and I have a big band, all kinds of stuff. But I just picked a snapshot of a playlist I was listening to the other night. It's pretty much all rock kind of stuff. It really doesn't matter for this purpose. It does not matter. I have 6 songs I'm going to play, and I'm going to judge A, B, each speaker for each song, and that's a round. Unfortunately, I can't let you hear these songs because I'll get a copyright violation. But at the end, I'm going to find, at the end of each fight, I'm going to try to find a song that I won't get a copyright violation for, and let you guys hear the difference between the two speakers that just fought. How's that? But I'll describe to you at the end of each round what I heard and who won. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed with round one, and I'll be right back with the results. Place your bets. Here we go. And round one is the song Man Machine by Kraftwerk from their live album. Okay, it's early into round one, by the way. Here's what I'm listening to. It's the album is Minimum Maximum. I really dig Kraftwerk. I always have my entire life. They have some funky riffs. I mean, they're the original. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but to me, they're the original electronic band. I mean, they're just funky stuff. I really dig their music. I like that live album, and sometimes I just chill and listen to it at night. It can get a little fatiguing after a few songs maybe, but I just pick a song here and there. But anyway, Man Machine is the opening track, and it's got some really deep bass and some really poignant dynamics with respect to electronic music. So the deep bass and the electronic dynamics that you would, with respect to the high frequencies. And so I'm early into the song, listening first to the Fostex, and I'm really liking it. And that Klipsch subwoofer, wow! I mean, it's really incredible. And I'm questioning whether I should give these Fostex or any other speaker the benefit of the subwoofer. However, why not? Because it's a $399 subwoofer. So if you pair a $399 subwoofer with a pair of speakers that needs a subwoofer, you know, a $400 subwoofer plus a $400 pair of speakers, if that competes well with the $15,000 pair of speakers, wouldn't you want to know it? So that's what we're dealing with here. But I'm really liking the sound, and the coherency of full range drivers is incredible. I mean, you can't beat. That's one of the things about a full range driver is there are no crossover networks. So there are no crossovers in the critical voice regions or the critical upper treble regions. You know, so there are no phase distortions. There's no distortions there where things cross over in the voice regions or in the critical regions in the 8 to 10 kilohertz regions as well. So, you know, you can't tell you're listening to, as I mentioned before, I'm listening to a mid-range driver here or a tweeter there. You can't tell. It's all one source. I like that. There are drawbacks to full-range drivers too. Okay, I'm getting verbose again. I'm going to carry on with the analysis. We're early into round one. Well, I got to stop again and say there really is a magic to listening. I've never before listened to these Fostex full-range drivers with a subwoofer. And there really is a magic to listening to full-range drivers supplemented by a subwoofer. I never knew what I was missing. They really are magical. I'm really glad I rediscovered this. Now I've got something else to look forward to. These full-range drivers are really, really good, and they're really special in their own way. They're really, really, really good in their own way. So it's just something that, you know, as I'm listening to this song, maybe other songs will change my mind, but wow, I'm really blown away by them. Really something. Wow. This is going to take a lot longer than I thought. I thought this was going to be a quick process. Wow. I could get sucked into this for a long time. This is actually really interesting and really fun. Had I not begun this process, this boxing match, I don't think I would have dragged those Fostex out of my workshop again for a long time. I'm so glad I hooked them up to a subwoofer. It's what they've been needing. Just to add that extra lowest octave. Wow. You know, because music like Kraftwerk needs that. That's really, really part of the music. You know, it's kind of like, to me, it's not a direct analogy, but it's kind of like asking you to look at going to an art museum and looking at a work of art, except I'm going to give these glasses and you're not allowed to see the color green, but you can just tell me what you think of the art, you know, with the color red and blue. You're like, what the hell? It's stupid. Or maybe, okay, you can look at the art, just not the lower third of the picture. You know, something like that. You're like, well, what the hell? I want to see the whole thing. Well, it's the same way with music to me, especially bands like Kraftwerk that have a lot of energy in the lowest octave. You know, I want to hear it. And speakers like the Fostex, as good as they are, they can't reproduce that. But when it's filled in with the sub, my God. Wow. And so the whole time during round one, you know, as the song is playing, I'm not switching away from the Fostex, but yet every time I go to the Klipschorns, I'm wanting to get back to the Fostex. Here's what I heard, to sum it up, without being too wordy. The Fostex were rather magical. They had a holographic quality to them. They were of course a little soft in the treble. That's just a natural consequence of them being full range drivers, especially without whizzer cones. That's okay. That's to be expected. But my God, the coherency. To hear a speaker that doesn't have crossover networks and doesn't have separate woofers and tweeters, and to hear a speaker that, you know, where the mid-range and the tweeters are that doesn't have a mid-range and tweeter that are off axis relative to each other, and to hear a speaker that the sound is time aligned, there are no crossover networks, and you know, a full range driver that's in essence like a point source. It's amazing. It's really special. So, and when I switched over to the Klipschorns, in the treble department, again, you go over there and wow, it's like too much of a good thing. It's like eating too much of a sweet dessert. And the first few bites in the treble department, you know, it's the first few bites you're like, oh, this is great, and after like, you know, a minute you're getting sick. Too much treble in the Klipschorns. It's sickening in comparison. I didn't like it. There's a lot of treble energy in Man Machine, and I didn't like it. It became, I wanted to get back to the Fostex. So if I had to live with one of the two speakers, it would be the Fostex. So round one goes unanimously to the Fostex. Fostex wins round one. 0 for Klipschorns. Wow, that's a shocker. I expected, and let me tell you what my bet was. I meant to tell you this earlier. My bet prior to going into the Fostex, to Fearless Fostex versus Butterbean Klipschorn, my bet was Fostex was going to get KO'd by the third round. That was my bet. Wow, this is really unexpected. Unexpected. It makes me rethink buying one of those better kits from Matasound now, with one of the larger Fostex full range drivers with the whizzer cones on it, or one of the better full range drivers with the larger horn, rear loaded horn cabinets. You know, Matasound makes some better kits with the higher quality Fostex drivers. Wow, these things are really, really good. $399 a pair for the kit. Holy shit. Now, again, they never were, I never considered them that good, but I never knew what I was missing. And what I was missing was a subwoofer. Anyway, I'm going on too much. I need to get to round two. But the 128-pound Fearless Fostex just kicked the shit out of Butterbean Klipschorn in round one. Klipschorn's weakness was the tilted up, shelved up treble. Real quick, a note about the bass. I would say the bass of the Klipschorn was tighter and more accurate than the bass produced by the subwoofer Fostex combination. But it wasn't enough. The Fostex subwoofer combination was more listenable. The sound was more coherent top to bottom and less fatiguing. Okay, so we are on to round two, where the song is Rise by Public Image Limited, which is a song that, you know, there's nothing particularly special about the song. It's a song from my youth, and I occasionally play it. It's got some energy in it. I love Johnny Rotten. I love watching his interviews. He's such a cool dude. I just like him. I always loved, oh shit, I'm having a senior moment. What the hell was his band's name? First, Sid Vicious, Johnny Rotten. Sex Pistols. Anyway, and you know, PIL had a lot of good stuff out too, but this particular song can sound like crap on some systems, so it'll be very telling how these two speakers reproduce this song. It can sound pretty harsh on some systems I've had in the past. So here we go. Okay, here's as I'm listening to Rise, and right off the bat I'm starting out with listening through the Fostex, and right off the bat I'm noticing the recording itself, the recording quality itself is not that good in my opinion, and that's the way it goes. Some records are recorded very well, some are not. It's just not, to me, not a great recording, and so it's not going to sound great on any gear as far as I'm concerned. That's just what I'm sensing, but I haven't switched over to the Klipschorns yet, so here we go. Okay, I just switched over to the Klipschorn, and I can tell you that the rhythm guitar and the hi-hats, okay, are way better, way more accurately reproduced by the Klipschorn. Okay, so when I'm on the Fostex, the high frequencies are much more veiled. It's as if it's as if I took the Klipschorns and put like a wool blanket over it. And then, when I'm listening to the Fostex and when I switch over to the Klipschorns, I suddenly remove the wool blanket. So now I'm hearing the crispness of the hi-hats, and I'm hearing the rhythm guitar, and I'm hearing Johnny Lydon's voice a lot more clear. I'm not sensing on the Klipschorns any harshness. The Klipschorns are winning right now. The song sounds a hell of a lot better on the Klipschorns. Let me get back to it. All right, round 2 is over. The Fostex just revealed their weakness. And their weakness is in the treble, in their reproduction of the mid to high treble, like the hi-hats, and then the upper registers of the human voice. They just can't get the job done with respect to detail, or with respect to dynamics, but with respect to, I'm at a loss for words, hold on a second. Forgive me, another senior moment. With respect to resolution, the ability to resolve in the treble. So the Fostex sounded a bit flat. So initially, when I said that the recording, it wasn't well recorded, the song, I was hearing the inability of the Fostex to reproduce those hi-hats and the upper part of the voice, and can't do it. So this round goes to the Klipschorn. The song was much better reproduced through the K-horn than the Fostex. Much more, I would rather listen to it through the K-horn. By a long shot. So the K-horn made a comeback with that one. The Fostex, it was listenable, it did a good job, but it sounded veiled. Everything sounded veiled. It it would be like an analogy would be like a camera with Vaseline on the lens, that kind of thing. So this might be the beginning of revealing the weakness of the relatively inexpensive full range driver. Nevertheless, the Fostex are still way more coherent and overall more tonally balanced. But I needed that detail. I needed to hear those hi-hats. I needed to hear that voice a little better. I needed the resolution to complete that song. And the clips weren't terribly tilted up in the highs on that song. That song was more balanced overall, and more pleasing to listen to. So Klipsch wins around on that one. We are moving on to round 3. Voices Inside My Head by the Police. This one is typically one of my bass slam songs, but I listen for other things. This is a song that I've been hearing my entire life through every system I've ever owned. I'm a big fan of Stuart Copeland, the drummer of the Police, and of the Police in general. I've listened to the entire album Zenyatta Mandata ad nauseum through every system I've ever owned. I know it inside and out, left, backwards, upwards, downwards, everything. I know what it should sound like. So we shall see. Okay. Well, let's talk about highs, mids, and the lows. Start out with the low frequencies. The Klipschorn wins hand over fist. The lows of the Fostex sub combination were there, but they were a muddy mess. There was a little bit of bass slam, but there was a lot of mud in there. Very little bass resolution in there. I turned, what I did is I turned off the subwoofer and just listened to the Fostex. They don't go that deep, so a lot of the bass was lost. Turned the sub back on. I listened to it. It's a good sub, but on that song, there was a lot of big muddy mess compared to the Klipschorns. The Klipschorns, the bass was tight, well controlled, well defined, very resolved, Very satisfying, very accurate. Once again, of course, the Fostex cannot handle the treble resolution, not even close. It's a veiled treble. The Stuart Copeland's hi-hats were incredibly veiled and laid back on the Fostex. That's understandable for full range drivers. I would much rather listen to that song on the Klipschorns. By far, the Klipschorns win. That was almost a knockout in that round. There was a couple of knockdowns in that round. The Fostex got back up only because of their coherency and their tonal balance. They got back up at the end, but it was almost a knockout. Klipschorns wins the what's it called? Butterbean Klipschorn almost wins by a knockout in that round. Now, I am not saying I don't appreciate the Fostex for what they are. I'm going to do some serious listening to these things. I'm enjoying them. But if my criteria is if I had to only live with one of them, you know, if I had to only live with one, which would it be? It would have to have been the Klipschorns, because I need to hear that treble resolution. I need to hear Stewart's drums. I need to hear the accuracy of the cymbals and the hi-hats, and I need to hear that bass resolution. I need to hear that bass slam. There are a lot of trade-offs you have to accept with a full-range speaker to get that coherency. There are a lot of trade-offs, at least with a full-range speaker of this quality. I know there are higher quality ones out there. I'm aware of them, but I don't have that here. So we're going into round 4. This is a song by a band called Lush. They go back to the 90s. I used to really like this. There's a couple albums, a couple of older albums by this band. I don't know what they're doing nowadays, but that I really liked back then. They were kind of progressive for the time, and I really liked their sound, and I really had a crush on the lead singer. That's why. The Japanese girl, I forget her name. I really liked her back then. It's one of my little... I was in college, you know. Thought she was really cute, and but I really like their music too. So, don't tell Mrs. Police. This is off one of their albums that I really liked, and it's a song about Mr. Bean's car. Pretty cool. So I'm going to listen to that right now, and we'll see if poor Fearless Fostex is able to stay on his feet. Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry if I don't know if I was speaking really fast during the first 3 songs. I was kind of taking a break between work. You know, I work from home, but I was kind of stressed and taking a break and trying to, because I really wanted to get the first video out. So I just went upstairs and got a cup of coffee and chilled out and came back down, and I was going to go back to work, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to take a longer break and chill and work a little later tonight and just finish this video now instead of going back to work and blah blah blah. I'm talking too much, but so I'm just going to try to get the video finished right now and not get stressed about it. But anyway, I'm in it starting Shake Baby Shake by Lush, and this song has a really kind of a spatial quality to it, kind of a 3D spatial quality to it. It's a bubblegum pop kind of song. I like it. It's a feel-good kind of song, and bubblegummy pop sort of thing. Kind of a bouncy song, and it seems like it's pretty well recorded, and I'm listening to it on the Klipschorns, and I really am enjoying the song. I like that guitar sound in the song. I forget what that's called. There's a certain sound. I forget what it's called, but I like the guitar sound, and it's just song's got a nice bounce to it. A song about a car. And so I'm about to switch over, and I'm enjoying it. There's nothing, I don't sense anything wrong with the way the Klipschorns are reproducing the song. Everything sounds great, so it's time to switch over to the Fostex. Shocker. Okay, I went back and forth. Hang on. I gotta listen to some more. I just listened to him on the Fostex, and so far I'm enjoying them more on the Fostex than the Klipschorns. I'm enjoying the mid-range. The warmth of the mid-range, the vocals through the mid-range are warmer, more coherent, there's less of a, it's hard to describe, but they sound more natural through the Fostex. Now granted, as always, the Fostex cannot produce that treble resolution, you know, the hi-hats, the cymbals, some of the guitar, the treble portions of the guitar, all that can't be reproduced, you know, the resolution there, but I'm enjoying the mid-range. And even that rhythm guitar sounds better through the Fostex right now. The bass, I wasn't focusing much on the bass. The bass kind of disappears to me. In this song, my brain is not drawn to the bass for some reason. My brain is drawn in this song, you know, unless I'm critical listening, my brain is drawn to the vocals and the guitar, mostly in the mid-range area. So that's what I'm focused on. I'm not focused on the bass. Like Voices Inside My Head by the Police, my brain is focused to Sting's bass and Stewart's kick drum. Boom, my brain is right there. I can't help it. But this song is different. So I don't even know what's going on in the bass here. But I'm liking it through the Fostex. Now, I need to go back and forth a few more times for the final determination, but right now Fostex is making a comeback. Where do we stand right now? We are 2 rounds to 1. Alright. Well, Fearless Fostex is making a comeback. We're 3/4 of the way through round 4, and Butterbean Klipschorn is taking a pummeling. Be right back. Okay, I just did another couple minutes listening through the Klipschorns and coming back from the Fostex, and the Klipschorns are too bright. Way too bright and too fatiguing in the treble. I can't take it relative to the Fostex. The Fostex were warm and tonally balanced with this song, and I could listen, you know, listen with ease for days, you know. So Fostex wins this round, and I would say handily. So 0-1. Okay, here we are. Fearless Fostex. We have a tie match right now. We have a tie match, and there's 2 rounds to go. The next, I love this song. The next song for round 5 is Six Blade Knife by Mark Knopfler. It's actually Dire Straits, but I don't distinguish between Mark Knopfler and Dire Straits. It's all Mark Knopfler. It's off, I don't know the name of the album. It's off the album that's Sultans of Swing. A great album, by the way. Great, start to finish. You could listen to that one, you know, start to finish, not a dud on there. Six Blade Knife. I love it. Be right back. Now, interestingly, right off the bat, I just began Six Blade Knife. This turns out to be not so awful, even though this was a random selection of a snapshot of 5 or 6 songs that I from the other night. This turns out to be not a bad selection, because I have a mixture of songs that may sound bad on some systems, good on another. I have songs that are tilted up, tonally imbalanced towards the high end. I have songs with deep bass, etc. Songs that draw your attention to certain aspects, like Shake Baby Shake draws your attention to the rhythm, guitar, and vocals. Well, Six Blade Knife, right off the bat, my brain is drawn towards that funky bass guitar. I love that bass guitar, and of course Knopfler's vocals is coming in, and when Knopfler starts picking, it's amazing. So, right off the bat, this is going to be a bass analysis song. This is going to be bass guitar resolution, bass resolution all the way. So it's going to be interesting to see, and of course this will be a good male vocals basis for judgment, as well as a lead guitar as well. Okay, back and forth a couple times. Didn't take long to figure out what the differences were and what I liked and didn't like. It was pretty close, I got to tell you, but the Klipschorns won on that one, and here were their strengths. Number one, the bass. The Klipschorn bass, once again, far more accurate and resolving. It resolved the bass notes to the nth degree. Whereas the subwoofer was, it had deep bass, but it was a muddy mess compared to the Klipschorns. I'd say where the Fostex excelled was the mid bass. I would say mid bass to lower mid range. The warmth, I think that's where the crossover is between on the Klipschorns. The crossover between the woofer and the mid range. I think there's a hole there or something. I think that's what I've been missing. Fostex excels right there. It's more warm, whereas I feel there's a suck out or something missing in the Klipschorn there. But the bass resolution of the Klipschorn, phenomenal compared to the Fostex subwoofer combo. The treble resolution, of course, the crispness of the hi-hats in the six-blade knife. I needed to hear that through the Klipschorns. And I kind of almost preferred Knopfler's vocals through the Fostex. They seemed a bit more satisfying in a way, but I think that's because the Fostex were more tonally balanced. I still feel the Klipschorn tilted up a little too much in the tonal balance department. God, I wish I could master that somehow. But overall, if I had to live with one, it's going to be the Klipschorns. Klipschorns win that round. I'm not going to say it was handily, but they win. So here we are. Klipschorns have won 3 rounds. Fostex have won 2. We're on the final round. The Sea Refuses No River by Pete Townshend, a song that I love. Townshend has some good songs on his own. I'm a fan of The Who, but he put out a couple of pretty good albums there back in the 90s, I guess. I really enjoy those albums. So this is going to be the final and deciding round. And let's it's 3-2, so this round will decide whether or not there's a tie or a winner. Obviously, if Fostex wins, then there's a tie, and I have to call Mrs. Police down, which I don't want to do. We shall see. Again, I predicted a knockout. I predicted Fearless Fostex would be knocked out by the second or third round, and I was wrong about that. Those Fostex, those full range, have their attributes that are pretty interesting, pretty unique. I'm amazed that the 128-pound Fostex held its own against the 412-pound Butterbean Klipschorn. Amazing. And through this process, this is very revealing about the strengths and the weaknesses of the Klipschorn. And right now, what it's revealing to me is one of the big weaknesses is I'm sensing a weakness in mid-bass in the Klipschorns. There's something in the 100 to 500 hertz area, maybe. There's a suck out there or something. And another big weakness is the sickeningly sweet, shelved up treble. That's, and Stereophile noted it as well. I'm not the only one, and I'm telling you folks, it is there. Go hear these things for yourself. It's too much. It's too much. Okay, last song. Oh, I want to tell you something I should have told you up front, and something I'm very, very aware of, and before anyone mentions it. I am running that subwoofer out of the preamp outputs of the AS1100, and I'm very cognizant of and aware of every time I switch from the Klipschorns over to the Fostex, I have to turn the subwoofer on, obviously, by switch on the back of the subwoofer. And every time I switch back over to the Klipschorns, I walk over and turn the subwoofer off. That's easy to forget. Because if I forget to do that, then I'm listening to the Klipschorns with the subwoofer and I'm not analyzing them correctly. I have not forgot to do that. I am analyzing the Klipschorns with the subwoofer off. I just want to let you know before someone corrects me on that. I've done it every time. I haven't done it wrong. Okay. Wow. Okay. So I listened to half the song on the Klipschorns and half the song on the Fostex, and you guys are going to hate me. You're going to think I'm fecking with you, and I'm not. Fostex wins. Why? Pete Townshend's voice was so much more accurately reproduced and so much warmer. I like Pete Townshend's voice. I think he's got a great voice. I don't care what anyone says. And this is a great song. I love this song. And the presence in the mid-range of this song. This song's all about mid-range. And the presence of the song and the voice and the emotion in the song is all in the mid-range here. And it was so well reproduced. And it was so warm and fuzzy through the Fostex. And it was so much better reproduced. And when I switched back over to the Klipsch, it was, again, back to the too much of a sweet dessert thing. It was too shelved up in the treble. It was too sweet. Pete Townshend's voice no longer sounded natural. It sounded like someone turned the treble control up. I didn't like it. And once again, I sensed that the Klipschorn lacked mid-bass. I would listen to that song all day long through the Fostex. I've never heard that song sound as good before. So on songs that don't require a tremendous amount of treble energy, like, you know, like I want to hear Stuart Copeland's hi-hats and cymbals. The Fostex are probably not the speaker, but on a song like this, I loved it. We got ourselves a tie here. We got ourselves a tie. I didn't expect this. It's 3 rounds to 3 rounds. And I don't think Mrs. Police is going to be happy. I didn't even tell her that she was going to be a judge, because I didn't expect this to happen. And she hasn't been in a good mood lately. So I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to get her down here to finish this off tonight. Wow. But I already set the rules. I said that she'd get the pick. So I think I'm going to use a song of her choice. She gets to pick the song because I want her to know the music and like the song. And I'll put the song on and I'll switch back and forth, and then I'll let her tell you in her own words which speaker she preferred the song through. That's what I'm going to do. So I'll be back. There you have it. Right off the bat, we have Butterbean Klipschorn struggling against Fearless Fostex rear-loaded horn with subwoofer. 412 pounds versus 128 pounds. I hope Butterbean Klipschorn goes to training camp after this, because we got some competition coming up. Wow. Well, this just renewed my interest in full-range drivers. Because these Fostex are by far from being the best full-range drivers around. I bought these years ago just to experiment. There are some much better full-range drivers out there. I just bought them for a project and to experiment with them. So, wow. I'll be back. Okay, so yeah, I have Mrs. Police with me. And she didn't know about this because I didn't think this was going to happen. She doesn't even know about the series of videos that I'm doing. I'm comparing my Klipschorns, the big ones, to all the other speakers that I have, and
and you know how I feel about the clips.
It's in the form of a boxing match, and there are 6 rounds. Each round is a song, and there turned out to be a tie.
You have a spreadsheet?
I do. It's very nerdy.
Okay, I was gonna say, y'all, it's a good thing.
It's very nerdy, but. So there's a tie, and you were going to be the tiebreaker, and so I'm going to play a song, and I was going to have you pick the song, but I'm picking it because I have to have a song where I don't get a copyright violation on YouTube, and I looked into this particular, it's a Mark Knopfler song. You like Mark Knopfler.
I love Mark Knopfler.
It's a Mark Knopfler song where I should not get a copyright violation. It's well recorded, which is what I wanted.
Okay.
So I'm going to play a song, and...
Should I move to the center?
No, just stay where you are. You're fine. You're almost in the sweet spot. And so I'm going to switch between the 2 little speakers here that you see. Those are my home-built full range, and the Klipschorns. And you're just simply going to tell me which you prefer the sound of. And I'll do it a couple times. And I'm going to make a recording so the audience can hear the sound as well. And then when I'm done, you'll tell me which you prefer and why. It's that simple.
All right.
Which you prefer and why. So let me get started. And I'm going to tilt the camera down because I don't put my face on camera because I have a face for radio, as they say. So okay, here we go. Let me start the recording.
Everybody's looking for somebody's arms to fall into. It's what it is. It's what it is now. There's frost on the graves and the monuments, but the taverns are warm in town. People curse the government and shovel hard food down. Lights around in City Hall, the castle and the keep. The moon shines down upon it all, the leadless and the sleepless. Cold on the toll gate with the wagons creeping through. Cold on the toll gate, God knows what I can do. It's what it is. It's what it is now. The garrison sleeps in the citadel with the ghosts and the ancient stones. High on the parapet, a Scottish piper stands alone. And high on the wind, the Highland drums begin to roll. Something from the past just comes and stares into my soul. Cold on a toll gate with a Canada wind blue. Cold on a toll gate, God knows what I can do with you. It's what it is. It's what it is now. What it is. It's what it is now.
The first speakers you heard are the same as these speakers right here.
I like them better.
You like these right here better?
As soon as you switched, I could tell the difference. And
Okay,
it
do you
made me
like-
feel better about these.
You like?
I like the first
Okay,
pair
hold on.
and the third pair. So I like the first set I listened
Okay, so you liked the first pair and the third pair, which were the same. So you liked the big speakers, and why? And what was it about those speakers you liked better than the little ones?
Well, they sounded deeper, richer. You know, I like a bass, but I like the clarity of a high end too. But it just seemed it was more well rounded. But it had more tone or resonance or whatever your words are, but to me it was
Use your own
deeper.
words. You're not an audio
Deeper.
guy.
It
You
was
use
just
your-
deeper. It was deeper. It was richer. I like that because I'm into bass, and that's just my thing.
Right. It had more treble. I mean.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was clearer.
Okay. So you prefer the sound overall of the Klipschorns, the big ones.
That is a shocker to me because I liked. What are those?
Well,
over
we're
there?
getting to those. We're getting to those. That's enough for
Those are my
Your
favorites.
favorites are the Forte 3s.
Yes.
Yeah, I met one night we were down here switching things around, the Cornwalls and the Fortes and even the Klipschorns, and Mrs. Police preferred, out of all of my speakers, the Let me turn to him. She preferred the Forte 3s. The Forte 3s out of all of them, including the Cornwalls, including the Klipschorns, the Forte 3s, which is why I'm going to be doing a future video. There's an upgrade kit you buy for the crossovers and internal bracing, and I'll be doing a
But you
video
know
on that.
what? You have to play the same music every time, don't you? Because that's the only way I would really know.
No, there's a couple ways.
No, you got to play. For me personally,
Yeah,
I
there's
got
a-
to hear the same song because I'm not in your world. I need to hear the same song so I could say, oh yeah, I like that. I don't like
Right.
that. Whatever. So
Well, there's different
Stuff like
ways
that.
of comparing. There's ABs, which we just did, which is not always a good way. Another way of knowing whether you like a speaker, which is even better, is listening to a speaker long term by itself, because it's one thing. Like for example, with the Klipschorns, it's one thing saying in the course of 10 seconds you like it, but maybe after 10 minutes it might get fatiguing. It might wear on you. Maybe there's too much of high frequency. There's too much bass. It's kind of like the analogies of an overly sweet dessert that you enjoy for the first few bites, but maybe you won't like it a minute from now.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with speakers. So there's different ways of doing it. But nevertheless, you were the tiebreaker on this.
I don't think your audience will appreciate the fact that I don't have the intensity, knowledge, or respect for
I set the
audio
rules.
that you
I set
do.
the rules. I'm sorry, the rules
Yeah,
are the
but
rules.
I'm like you're
There-
white glove.
there-
I'm a dust cloth.
There
you know?
are a few people in my audience that I'm just hoping to piss off anyway. So what the hell?
Well, great. You're gonna really piss them
Yeah.
off with me. So thank you, YouTube.
All right.
Don't.
All right, I'm gonna hit pause here because the Klipschorns
Yeah,
just
yeah.
won. All right, got it. Pause.
That's a shock.
All right, folks, whether you like it or not, those were the rules, and Mrs. Police picked the Klipschorn for her own reasons. She's not an audiophile. She's not crazy like us. She just likes music. She loves music, and she listens to music more than I do, actually. But she has her own reasons, and I gave her, I gave her a song that I gave her a Mark Knopfler song, one that I know that it won't cause me a copyright violation, at least according to YouTube right now, so that you guys could hear it as well. And she picked the Klipschorns, so that's the way it is. They won. But it's very telling that the fight was tie after 6 rounds. There you have it. And all through 6 rounds, I gave you the reasons why. So this took a lot longer than I thought. So there's only going to be one fight tonight. Hopefully, there'll be another one tomorrow or the next day. I had no idea this process would take 2 hours or an hour and a half or whatever it's been. I thought this would be a quick process, but nevertheless, I was shocked along the way to learn how decent these Fostex drivers are. And there's no way you're going to be able to hear. I recorded. Let me show you what I did. In that last segment when Mrs. Police was listening, I took my Sony voice recorder and I recorded that Mark Knopfler song on both the Klipschorns and the Fostex, and I just put together a little cubby hole thing right here and stuck my voice recorder in there. And I did that because these are omnidirectional microphones, and I didn't want any. I try to avoid reflections from the rear, and it's just a quick makeshift kind of thing, just to avoid that hollow sound. So it's not going to be the best in the world, and there's no way you're going to be able to get a sense for, what I'm hearing here. But believe me, those Fostex full-range drivers were very coherent and very interesting to listen to. And that was the shocker, how it's revitalized my interest in full-range drivers. So it was well worth the exercise, for me at least, and I hope you got something out of it too. As we leave here tonight, I wish I could do an imitation of Howard Cosell. I used to like, as much as people didn't like him, I always liked Howard Cosell. I used to enjoy it when he announced boxing back in the 70s and early 80s. He was just a classy, fun guy to listen to. And he really, really loved sports, you could tell. But if I could do a Howard Cosell imitation, I would, but I can't. But Butterbean Klipschorn barely squeaked this one out. Obviously wasn't in shape. Didn't take this fight seriously. Hopefully he goes back to training camp and prepares for his next fight, which will be a real challenge against Sweet JBL 4655. This is I'm not trying to do a Howard Cosell. That'll be the next fight. Sweet JBL 4655. JBL has got a real challenge to overcome because he's really, even though he's called Sweet JBL, he doesn't have a bit of sweetness in the treble department, believe me. He's got the warmest, best mid-range maybe I've ever heard, but he's hurting in the treble. So, it's going to be a real challenge. We'll see what happens. But for now, Butterbean Klipschorn leaves here the victor. But barely. Ciao.